Here's a video tutorial explaining the basics of the game for those of you who, like myself, prefer pictures. So what's in the box? Here's a frame. That's what makes it possible to extend the game area. Now the tiles. Water, that's plains, forest, mountains. And we have pawns. Red ones, black ones, a castle, very important thing. And 2 resources. That's stone and that's wood. The goal of this game is to defeat all of the opponent's pieces. So here's the game area. You can arrange it in any way you want, although there are some standards you may want to follow. Once we have our board arranged, we should put resources, wood in the forest, okay, there we go, and we put stone in the mountains. So the resources are ready. You start with 2 of them and you can get up to 8. And if you lose some of them, you can recruit them again, if you have the resources needed. You need these to recruit new pawns. So, pretty important ones. But in order to recruit a pawn, you need to build a castle first. When you build a castle, you need 2 types of resources, wood and stone, and they need to be on the same square. You do that by dropping the resource like that, or this movement is also allowed. You can drop a resource just 1 level below. You can't put things on water, and you cannot build castles on water, which kind of makes sense. The tiles have different heights. Water is the lowest one, then we have the plains, the forest and the mountains. Depending on the type of terrain, you can move a number of squares. It's 4 in the water, it's 3 on the plains, it's 2 in the forest and 1 in the mountains. And when moving in diagonal, it's always 1 less. When a pawn carries a resource, it's 1 point less. You know, it's heavy stuff, right? And you can't move less than 1. In a given turn, you can move as many pawns as you want, or you may not move at all. Up to 3 times, then you lose. You're not allowed to jump over things. So this movement is not allowed, and this one either. There can be only a castle, a pawn in a castle, 2 resources, or 1 resource, a pawn, or a pawn with a resource in a castle at the same time on a single square. Instead of moving a pawn, you may decide to take an action. So for example, you can build a castle using 2 resources, or you can drop a resource, for example here, and that's end of the movement for these pawns. In order to obtain a resource, you need to stop on its square. You can do that this way, or this one is a valid movement too. And also remember that pawn can carry only 1 resource, anyway that won't fit. A pawn can change field type 1 step at a time. So this movement is allowed from water to plains, and from plains to the forest, and from forest to the mountains, but this one is not allowed. You can't jump through water on the top of the mountain, or from the plains to the mountains. When you change terrain type, the movement ends, even though you still have some points. However, being above gives you advantage over the opponent. So for example, you can beat this pawn here, but this won't work the other way around. In order to capture the opponent's piece, you need to have at least one extra point, like you would stand behind it. Okay, so in this case it would work, but in that one it wouldn't. If the attacked pawn is carrying a resource, you need to take it. A pawn carrying a resource cannot attack. Another case when you are not allowed to attack directly is when a pawn is in a castle, so it's well defended. In this case, you need to surround it with 3 pieces for 3 turns, and then in the fourth one you can take it over. And the other option is to block the only way out from a castle. So in this case you need only a single pawn here for 3 turns, and in the fourth one again you can take it. The castle is all yours. And the cool thing about castles is that they can be finished by someone else, they can be taken over by your opponent, and also once they are built like that, when there is another pawn next to it, so we need 2 of these, a castle can be disassembled back into resources. And you know, it's not a good idea to run away. And the final thing, recruiting your new pawns. So the way it works is that you need a resource next to the castle, again on the same level. So we can replace a resource for a pawn. Okay, in one turn, then in the next one we can do the same.